know, we just had a torrential downpour, thunder and lightning, flooding, and all of our sheep are now the other side of the brook in the secret meadow. So I need to go down because there's a lag, which means we've got a few hours, but there's a good chance that it's going to flood tonight, or at least be too high and they'll be stuck over there. So we need to bring them back over to higher ground now. We'll have to check on the pigs. I actually just redid the pig pen this week and put the arks up on some raised ground of stone because they were flooding. They're waiting to be fed actually. There's a chance that the brook is going to be too deep to ford through. I don't think it will be, because it normally takes a good few hours to raise up. It's actually very calm. You wouldn't know it, but that's definitely going to be about a metre higher in a matter of hours. Come on girls, in you come. Come on. Should have brought the dog. Go on. Good, that's it, last few. One hour, there's no way they get through that. Right, I'm going to push them all the way along. I know I could just shut them on the track, but they started nibbling my new trees. Alright, we are nearly there along the track, and I'll get them in and shut up. I'll just check that that lake isn't, well, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to go unplugging drains now, but there's plenty of high ground in the next field, so they can go up on the banks. Go on. Go on. That footage you just seen was Friday night, or Saturday night maybe, getting the sheep in, and it worked okay. We got them along the track and then into the lake field. We left the cows behind, and then over the weekend nothing much happened. Some of the sheep made their way back, but everyone was moved up this morning because it's been non-stop rain. But wait till you see what's just happened today. That is not, it's not a riverside property this, but it looks like it. We're about 120 meters wide maybe, this watercourse now. It's normally 2 meters wide. So this morning it broke its banks over on the other side and went all the way through the secret meadow. Now it's come out breaks its banks just up here, flows down here. Look at the speed of that. I mean, that's why you don't want livestock in there. And then up the other end it is completely full now, that whole basin of a field. So Eden did a good job this morning of getting the last few sheep which had made their way back here. She's moved them up to the lake field, but she couldn't find the cows. Hopefully they've seen sense and they've moved up to the lake field themselves, but I just don't want to risk it, so I'm going to have a check now. But in all honesty, if they are over there now, there's almost next to nothing I can do about it apart from cutting fencing and taking them up and a long footpath, which is not ideal. So I don't think they'll be over there. They'd be screaming their heads off if they were. Well, that's good to see. I put my 3 pylons down here with a telehandler back in the summer because I wanted to make sure that I could make my bridge. My bridge was there so I could evacuate livestock from the other side, but clearly I didn't build my bridge quick enough. But what I'm worried about is if the water gets too much higher, those could float. I don't think they float off our land, but they'd certainly end up where we don't want them. Actually, I can see green over there, so that's always good to see when it's really bad. Not sure if I can zoom in, but through there, if the cows were over there, there's almost no way that they could get up that high. That's another 1.5 meters. That is insane. It's very, very hard to give you an idea, but that's probably getting on for 2.5 to 3 meters higher than it usually is. This is such an incised ravine of a brook up this end. This fallen tree usually is, 3 or 4 meters above the water level at least. So that's the Squirrel Bridge. The overflow from the lake is blocked, and I knew it was blocked because I spotted it getting high a couple of weeks ago. But if it's not unblocked, roots and stuff grow into the pipe, I think, well then it can flood out that field as well. Well, there's some sheep. Good girls. Well, that's our little coppice that we planted. It would have done far better. Well, everything's alive down there, but the cows and the sheep managed to get in through this end hedge and they've eaten everything from 6 foot down. But that's all the willows, and that's exactly why I fenced off that area, because it makes sense for that to be outside of the grazing area. Oh good, I see a cow. Right, what's going on in here? Oh dear, that's not a healthy looking boat, is it? Oh, sorry state of that boat. Yeah, so that is about a foot higher than it should be, that water. I'm not sure now is the time or the place to be adding more water to the water course. I can see everyone I need to. The next thing I need to do is get the cows' hooves done. They're really getting overgrown now. And I have found a local guy, so I'm going to push on to get him to come over. We're only 2 cows. So we'll be at the bottom of the list, but I really want to get them done. Right, I know it sounds odd, but there's things to do when it floods. Or if it's raining really heavily. You check all your gutters and stuff if it's a house. Well, now I need to think about if this is a worst case scenario-ish, where is this bridge going to go? So these pylons are pretty much where we're thinking. I'm trying to see if I can look through to the willow trees. If I can pick a point on there that I can then come back, as long as those currently are about the height, or if I can pick a point now that is the water level, I want to make sure our bridge isn't going to be too much below that. We currently know that it's coming up halfway up the pylons, which means that the position of this bridge, because they're just sat on the field, it's only really 4 or 5 inches deep here maximum. Maybe a little bit more because that's quite a chunky pylon, that M1. So we just want to make sure that we just keep these, as long as they're on a concrete plinth each side or concrete pad, they are clear of the flow of the water, because the last thing we want is them either being floated off, even though they'll be fixed down, or you don't want to restrict the flow of the watercourse at all. For those of you who've never come across this breed of dog before, they're called a Lagotto Romagnolo, or something like that. And they're an Italian gun dog, which is an ancient breed no one really knows about, but they're used for hunting or for retrieving ducks in like marshland, well, many, many hundreds of years ago, and now they're mainly used for truffle hunting. But they are a water dog and they have webbed feet and they live for this. He's absolutely loving it. So right at the end where we've got some finer mesh fencing, it's kind of acted like a colander and sieved out everything. However, it's dropped, what are we, probably 2.5 meters, and back down to the levels it's used to be. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Every time we come down here it changes. This is all gone. Lost about 1 meter there. That tree was on the bank. That's all slipped in. They want a fence put here, Natural England, because obviously they want to keep livestock out, and if grants cover it, I don't mind doing it, but we're going to have to probably put it 2 meters in order to not lose it. All of this has come downstream, just got held up, tyres. It's always quite an interesting treasure hunt. Have a look what's come down, as long as it's nothing too sinister. This is what happens. You get a big tree like this, whether it's from ours or not, I don't know, and then you get all this build up behind. Sometimes it's good build up, sometimes it's trees, tree guards and all sorts from upstream. They call that a leaky dam, and believe it or not, there's grants available for a team of people to come in and build you a leaky dam, because it slows the flow and floods your land and not everyone below you. It seems to happen itself here, so the last thing I'm going to do is intentionally slow the flow more than what's happening naturally. I mean, you can talk about beavers and all sorts, but just natural decay of falling trees tends to do a good job here. Again, look, that tree's come down because the bank's caved in, and these two, where have they come from? I mean, what on earth? Oh, that's reason 142 why Tim needs a telehandler. What on earth is that? Isn't that antibiotic spray? I went out of date 10 years ago. We better not use that. I fear we might have another leaky dam up here. God, what's going on? It sounds like river rapids. Oh yeah, Oh, what a mess. That's our ash tree that came down back in the last winter, and I haven't managed to cut it and drag it out yet. That's alright, but what it has done is slowed everything else up and this. But if I told you that this was a torrent of water yesterday, you know, it doesn't even look it, does it? So if you are going to flood, this is the best sort of flooding. Comes and goes, doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but it does drop all the good nutrients. You know, all of this is kind of stained brown when you look at it from afar, and all that is all of the neighbours' topsoil all the way up the watercourse, landing on ours. Great, another tyre down there. Alright, I'm nearly done, I promise. But we may as well go down the far end, because that's normally where the damage happens, because that's where everything gets caught up. This is where it's meant to make its way back down, which it does, but it's obviously caught everything up over on the other ramp. There was a fence here, which is gone, an old fence fortunately. Don't know where it's gone. And then this is the unfortunate scene of our new fencing. We had this last bit of fencing left, and it's good for goats because they can't really climb it. But of course it's caught all the bits, and that's just, I don't think it's snapped the post, but it's definitely forced that one out. That's okay, it's just soft. And it's high tensile, so it's going to hold itself up anyway. And then all that hedging, those of you who are watching who help plant this, fear not, it's all good in there. They're going to do just fine. I will thin through and get rid of some of the nettles, but they'll die off at winter anyway. But that's definitely the highest it's ever come. You can just about see this brown mark, which is the water level. And that was a pretty good guess for me in the first year to put the fence there, because I'd be astonished. Well, if it ever reached there, a lot of other people are in trouble. So that's a good shout. We've always got that high ground to move animals to, and that fence should last a bit longer because it's not saturated in the ground. So this video was filmed in September, and for various reasons it never got put out because we're just far too far behind on editing. And I thought we'd never put it out because it was kind of out of context with whatever the weather was at the time. But it just so happens that last night it got a whole lot worse. We're the end of November now, and a hideous amount of rain and wind happened. Let me show you this. It might look the same, but that is deeper. That is way deeper. We've lost fencing this time. The depth and speed of that water is a whole different ball game from last time. I can't even get down there, but I feel we've lost quite a bit of fencing. I'm only on my phone, but if I zoom in, that post and rail fence over there, that's a 1.2 metre fence. As is all of that left. Look at this, I mean the height of that horse net, which is that finer gauge or finer mesh, is that's 1.1 metres, that fence. Pretty much at the top. That's caught all the debris, and of course all those fence posts are being pushed over. There is a stretch of new hedging there, which I don't know, hopefully that'll bounce back, but the rest of it was accompanied by all those winds. We lost a whole bunch of trees. They've probably fallen over and blown away or washed away. It almost looks like there's a seal or something poking its head up and down, but I think they're just logs. There's just masses of trees and logs. Remember that is 3.5 meters deep, that section, and through there you can see. We'll just have to wait and see how where and how they get hung up in the trees, but it's a right state. And it wasn't really, it was all the wind that we were worried about. So I was down at 5 o'clock in my jammies, moving those sheep up onto the track. It wasn't quite as bad as it is at the moment, but luckily I was able to move them up on higher ground. Everyone else is up there on the hill field. We've got a calf due in the next week as well, but luckily that was not going to make an appearance today. So there you go. We started in September. We've ended a couple of months later, but it's the same old problems. And pretty sure that's definitely the deepest. I was going to title this "The Worst We've Seen It" based on the September one, but that's worse again. Might just be a sign of times to come, I think. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Take care, everyone. We will get some videos out on the farm channel soon, but if you want to know why we haven't been busy on the farm videos, then you'll have to head over to the restoration couple and see how the house build's going, because that's taking up every second of our time, as well as keeping on top of the animals. We'll leave it there. See you next time.